Everybody, Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Got a brand new video for you guys. We're going to discuss today's three-game slate in the association. But before I get started, like always, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys. You drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, first time here, you have not as of yet become a part of the DFS Zone community. The only thing you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, is subscribe down below and make sure you put on your post notification, that bell icon. Turn it on. This way you don't miss out on any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos. All right. With that being said, today is Tuesday, November the 13th. 2018, we have a three-game slate in the association. Not a whole lot. I mean, with a three-game slate, like always, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, everybody's available. I mean, you know, you can choose, you can mix and match, you can do quite a bit with a three-game slate. Obviously, when you have a three-game slate, I always recommend to try to target a game or so to get a game stack in there. Obviously, I'm going to have the most exposure to the Houston-Denver game. I think pretty much everybody will as well. It's just a matter of finding the right possible combination of players and, of course, utilizing some of the plays from the Atlanta Golden State game as well as the Charlotte Cleveland game. So today, I normally give you a stud 5 and a value 5. I'm not going to do that today. A three-game slate like this, I mean, I'm just going to touch upon some plays, give you 5 plays. I'm going to put them on the screen here so this way you have an idea of what they look like on at least as a lineup. And then you can take it from there with some of the other suggestions and whatever you may have as far as you do your research as well. Granted, the whole idea with DFS Zone here is to be able to give you guys some options. So you're going to have always a couple plays. And you're going to always have opportunity to either make a player pool out of that and make sure and utilize that with your own player pool or from where everybody else that you may listen to on the internet. Again, nothing is guaranteed. Nothing. So do not believe that, you know, what I'm giving you here is a sure thing. You know, I want you to have your own input and so on and so forth. Also, we can always continue. We always can comment down below in the bottom of the video. Love going back and forth with you guys during the course of the day. And, of course, you know, there's the invitation there for the Slack. If you want to get on the Slack chat, you can do that an hour before, pretty much an hour, a half hour before lock. I usually get on there, start, you know, talking, interacting with some of the viewers that have come aboard and want to chit chat there. A lot of guys always have a lot of good input. So it's a great place to be so that everybody can interact with one another and actually learn and feed off of one another. So that is down on the video description below. All right, let's get to it, man. So today at point guard, I definitely will have some exposure to Kemba Walker. Like always, I always tell you who I'm going to have some exposure to. So he's definitely in my player pool. It's just, unfortunately, they're playing Cleveland. You always got to be concerned about the blowout situation. They did beat him pretty badly a couple weeks ago, and he didn't play a whole lot in that game as well. So Kemba Walker is definitely someone that you could play. Chris Paul, you could have some exposure to as well. I'm not high on Chris Paul today. I'm more on probably Kemba Walker. But I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to definitely recommend Trae Young. It's the first time I'm recommending him this year. I kind of like the situation that they're in going into today. Don't like his price tag, but, you know, I love the fact that he's being utilized. His usage rate is high. He's obviously going to take tons of shots. So there is opportunity there for him in this matchup. You got here, he's averaging 18.5 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 8.2 assists, 32.8, pretty much 33 fantasy points per game at 7,500. You need about 36, 37. Hefty number, but he has definitely have shown that he can do that. He just hit a 42 spot in his last game. On DK, he's 7,200. So 7,200 on DK, pretty much 36, around the same range, 36, 37, pretty much is what you need from both platforms. Let's take it over to the cruncher, and we'll go right down to Trae. 42 spot in his last game, man. What I'm more looking at, his numbers are not that great, okay? But what I want everybody to understand, the usage rate is there. I mean, he's averaging, his usage rate is about 28%, pretty much 27, 28% on average throughout the year. And he's been over 30 several times. And then while he's on getting all that usage, he is getting more than enough minutes. His minutes are about 30, 31 per game. And then you look over here, just look at the shots he's taking. 18 from the floor here, 9, 19, 19, 9. He's taking more than enough shots. And then he's also taking about 6 or 7 threes per game. The only issue with Trae is that he's not getting a higher field goal percentage out of them. He's not burying these shots more. Now, if he's able to bury some shots today, and I'm banking that he'll bury some shots today, because Atlanta, to stay in this game, they're going to need Trae Young. They're going to need Ken Bazemore to play well, and maybe even Taurean Prince. So they need these three guys, and I'm more in favor of Trae and Kent Bazemore more so than Prince going into today. If I'm going to have any exposure, I'll probably have some exposure to Bazemore as well. But, I mean, 18 shots, 19 shots. He's taking tons of shots. Just needs to bury the shots. Other than that, he's assisting the ball. He's getting a few rebounds. You got to clean up the turnovers, man, because we lose out 4 fantasy points here, 6 here. So that's 10 fantasy points we're losing in 2 games. But he gets the occasional steal and block. He's a scorer, but he's getting more than enough points and more than enough opportunities to shoot the basket. And that's what I'm looking at more so here in this matchup here. And then knowing that they are, 13-point underdogs going into today, there could be a blowout situation here. They need to stay close in this game. Trae Young is going to have to perform. So he's going to get these shots. He's going to get these opportunities, tons of opportunity to shoot the ball, as well as maybe Mr. Bazemore and Mr. Prince. So I like Trae Young. I'm willing to take a stab at him today in this small slate. Granted, I am also going to have some exposure to Kemba Walker, which I already have said. They're going up against Golden State. Golden State thus far has done okay defending against that position of point. They've been the 6th best in the league thus far this year. But 24, they are 24th in fantasy points allowed to opposing point guards. So they do give up quite a bit of fantasy points. They give up 27 fantasy points per game, and thus far this year, they just recently gave Alexander of the Clippers 33.5 fantasy points. They did allow 39.8 to Mr. Bledsoe. Tyrese Jones of Minnesota put up 33 on them, and D'Angelo Russell of the Brooklyn Nets put up 39. They did shut down one good point guard this year, and that was Michael Connolly. They held him to 17 fantasy points, but that's basically it. There's an opportunity here for Trae Young to be able to get something done today. And they're going to need to, and he's going to need to take tons of shots, just simply because Atlanta, if they're going to stay close in this game, they're going to need him to do that. All right, let's go over back to the cruncher. We're going to add him there to the list, so this way you can see how things are unfolding. At shooting guard today, I'm just going right to the big dog, man. I'm going to James Harden. I like the matchup. This is the game of the night. Houston versus Denver. Denver, we're going to find out how good Denver is. They've been pretty good usually all year long thus far this year, and even last year at home, they are a fairly good team. Last year, they were more run and gun. This year, they've become more defense-oriented as of a team. Love to see how they're going to handle James Harden and Chris Paul today, so we'll get a chance to do that. And then at the same time, we're going to also see, obviously, a jump in minutes and shots, obviously, for Mr. James Harden and Chris Paul, with now the Carmelo Anthony situation starting to, resolve itself. Carmelo is more than likely going to be gone out of Houston, and that's going to open up the doors here. So I'm sure there's a relief for James as well as Chris, and they're going to just go ahead and just ball their butts off. So this is a good game for Houston to see how well they can do with a team that's been pretty good defensively thus far this year. But James Harden, 11,500. You pretty much need 57 from him. We all know he's got 60, 70 points. He can get 80 points any given night. I mean, he is that dangerous. Okay. On DK, 10,500. Love the price a little bit better there. That's a whole $1,000 less. And that's 52 spot you basically need from him on DK. So he'll have some exposure. I will have exposure to him here and as well on DK. All right. So James Harden, definitely in play. Let's go over to the cruncher. At shooting guard, we're going to open him up a little bit. And, we know what we're going to get from him, man. It's not a whole lot to say. We know he's going to get tons of minutes. He's averaging about 35, 36 minutes per game. Pretty much his usage rate is through the roof, 34, 35% maybe on average here. And look at the shots. I mean, he's taking about maybe 20, I would say 19 to 20 shots per game from the floor. And then he also takes massive threes, which, it's crazy. I mean, he overall 20 in the last game, 58 points. 9 of 20 and 8 of 18, and he also got to the free throw line 15 times. Holy shit. That is crazy, man. 7 rebounds, 9 assists. The turnovers were ridiculous. Imagine if he would have had no turnovers, he would have had about a 67, 68 spot. So, again, it's not nothing more here. It's just he's going to have to ball, and he's going to ball. So that's plain and simple. Going up against Denver. Last year against Denver, he didn't do too bad. So let's go back. He did a 59 spot in Denver, and then the year before that in Denver, a 63. So he's averaging about 61 fantasy points in his last 2 meetings with Denver in Denver. All right, so he's done well there, taking massive shots like usual and so on and so forth. Denver coming in 10th in defending shooting guards, 16th in fantasy points allowed to shooting guards thus far this year, allowing 25.9, pretty much 26 fantasy points per game. In the last 2 games, they gave up 38 to Mr. Brogdon and 33 to Mr. LeVert. And again, man, such a shame to lose Karis LeVert, just to mention last night, man. I just hate when these young kids, because I know being an athlete, a former athlete, I know how it is, the hard work involved in getting yourself into shape and working hard, and to seeing kids, get hurt like this on a football field, any field, baseball, anything. Here in basketball as well, it's just really definitely hurts me. It just so I hope he gets better, Karis LeVert. But I mean, again, he gave up 33 to LeVert, and they also gave up 48 to Levine and 40 to Donovan Mitchell. So there is opportunity obviously for James Harden, one of the best shooters in this game, best scorers in this game, to be able to light it up. So definitely Mr. Harden is in play for me. We're going to just slap him in there right now. We go to small forward. A small forward, you can very easily go with Durant. I'm going to have maybe one lineup with Durant in there. I'm going to squeeze him in there. I'm just still concerned about the blowout situation. They are 13-point favorites at home. We will hope that Atlanta keeps it close. I'm going to be more with the strategy of utilizing some of the teams that may be in that blowout situation as far as building around this particular lineup. So Kevin Durant will have maybe minimal exposure by me. But obviously he's definitely someone in play. Going to come down really to the Atlanta guy, Taurean Prince. I'm just going to have to go with him. Other than him, I also like Rodney Hood here today. But I'm going to go with Mr. Prince. They're going to need to play, and they're going to need to play well. And Mr. Prince here, man, coming in 15 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2.5, pretty much almost 3 assists a game, averaging 26.8, 27 fantasy points per game at 6,600 on Fanduel. You need about 33, and on DK 6,100, so you need pretty much 30. So 30 to 33 fantasy points. He just put up a 34 spot here in his last game, one of his best shooting games, at least as far as offensively, 23 points from the floor. We'll go over to the cruncher, and again, this is more, I'm basing this more on the factors that Prince is going to need to play well against Golden State for Atlanta to stay in this game, so I'm willing to take a stab at him. And also what I like is that his usage rate is high enough for me, and he gets more than enough shots compared to Mr. Batum and Mr. Bree and Mr. Hood. They're getting a little bit less opportunities with the basket. So Mr. Prince is definitely, an integral part of the offense with Mr. Bazemore and Mr. Young. So when we look at him a little bit further, as you can see, he's pretty much almost averaging 1 fantasy point per minute, pretty much on average. His minutes are at about 26, maybe 27. His usage rate is pretty much at around 24, 25%. And the minutes are there solid, about maybe close to 30 a game. He's at 31 and 35 in 2 out of the last 3 games, but more like about a 29, 30 minute, on average for him. And he also takes threes. So there's other opportunities there. 5 of 8 in the last game, 1 of 3, 2 of 10, 3 of 8. So he takes, give or take maybe about 5 or 6 threes on average per game on top of that. And then he does all the other little things that you'll like to see from a player as well from the 3 spot. He gets rebounds and he gets a couple of assists here and there. The turnovers, he's got to clean up. Another guy that turns over quite a bit. Last game, 5 turnovers. He would have had a 38 spot here if he didn't turn over the ball at all. But he cleans up the turnovers and minimizes those to 1 or 2 on average. He'll be fine. He does defend a little bit, gets a couple of steals here and there. I think he's not a bad play. Considering that they have to play well, he's going to need to be one of those guys. And we know that he's going to get the usage, he's going to get minutes, and he's going to get shots. And that's what you want, at least that opportunity. Now, his price is fine. This is a guy that's a 7,500 guy, When he's playing very, very well, he's been. You look at it here. Just not even earlier in the year, he was 7,200, 7,300. So we're getting him at a discount in a game that he's going to have to perform, that they're going to have to score points to stay in it. I'm banking on that. That's what we're banking on in a small slate like this. So Taurean Prince in play for me. So we're going to add him to this roster here. Now we got $5,700 left per player. We're going to come down a little bit in price over here. Obviously, Draymond Green could be a possible option. Paul Millsap played very well in his last game. I'm not high on Paul Millsap. I always like Trey Lyles a little bit more. But he's going to get there to the point where he's about 7.5 again. He's still at a discount. I'm going to go to Larry Nance Jr. because, again, you got to take some of these guys that need to play well enough. Cleveland is a 7-point underdog at home today to Charlotte. If they need to stay close in this game, Larry Nance is going to have to play well. And now that he is actually starting, I like the opportunity for him even more so. Larry Nance coming in here, 7,000. You need 5,900, 7.3 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 22.3 fantasy points per game. Let me just make sure I have the right sheet here. Yep, Larry Nance, 5,900. So again, apologize for that. 7-3, 22-9, 5.9 is his salary. 29 you need pretty much to cover the 5,900. He's 5,200 on DK. Love that price a lot better. You pretty much need 26 there. He's averaging 22. And let's take a look at him a little bit more here, Mr. Nance. And as you can see, now this just is as recent. His numbers look pretty ugly. He's going to get more involved in the offense. Looking at last game, he only had 8 shots he took. He only hit 1 basket from the floor. He got 2 points. He didn't hit any threes, but he went out and he still continued to help the team out. He got rebounds. He got an assist. He got a steal and he got 4 blocks, and that's the reason why he's got 34 fantasy points. And these are the kind of players I talk about here all the time that you would like to have on your lineups every single day. Guys that could just not scoring dependent only. That we like guys to score. We don't want them to be scoring dependent. We don't want them to be just scorers and they don't do nothing else, because you ain't going to get a whole lot of additional fantasy points from other than their floor points. So, I mean, in this case here, he's able to score. If he gets 5 or 6, 7 opportunities to score up front, he'll be able to do well. Against this team, this is where you want to attack him at. This is where I like Larry Nance here today just as well as I like Tristan Thompson. I think this is where Cleveland can really keep the game close against Charlotte, is utilizing these guys up front, because that's, for me, in my opinion, that's their weakness. All right, so we got 11-4. Again, the numbers are pretty good. Usage is not extremely high. He's just starting right now, and as you can see, the minutes have just crept up now, 22 and 31 over the last 2 games. I expect him to play 30 or 30-plus minutes today, and especially if Cleveland could keep this game close, he's going to be out there a little longer. We got a nice, good, athletic guy, runs the floor very well, great in transition, dunks the ball, is very aggressive under the basket, got a long wingspan. Everything is just right for Mr. Larry Nance here. Going up against Charlotte, they're 13th in defending power forwards thus far this year, and they're 16th. Well, actually 14th in fantasy points allowed to power forwards this year. They're only allowing 18.4 fantasy points per game. So Marvin Williams is doing an excellent job. But I was looking at all the power forwards they have played against. They gave the only one true elite power forward they have faced is Blake Griffin, and they held him down to 24.7 fantasy points per game. He must have had a bad shooting night. I didn't look at the entire stats for that, but he only put up 24.7. Dario Saric put up 29, and he has put up the best numbers against Charlotte as a power forward, is Dario Saric with 29. They have faced guys like Spellman, Decker, Jeremy Grant, Kelly Olynyk, and Mitchell Hutchinson, and the other pretty decent power forward who is now hurt, but earlier in the year they played against Bobby Portis and he only put up 26. So I still think that Larry Nance has the capabilities here to get you 30 or 35. At this price, man, you only need 29, and he is capable of getting you 40. He's capable of it. All right, he has that upside. So we're gonna add Mr. Nance there. Okay, last guy I'm gonna discuss is Tristan Thompson at center. Like I just said, I think that's the area where Cleveland could keep this game fairly close and be competitive. Tristan Thompson has also been starting, playing massive minutes. 10 points, 10 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 26.9, 27 fantasy points per game, 6,100. You need 30 pretty much to meet value. And on DK, he is pretty much the same price. Let me see. I don't have it here. And where are you, Mr. Thompson? He is 57. So, so in DK, you need 27. So 27 and 30. Very much attainable for him. He has put 2 40 spots in 2 out of the last 3 games. And let's go to the cruncher. And on the fantasy cruncher, when I click on him, as you can see, the 2 out of the 4, and look at the minutes. Since he's been starting and been getting a role as far as being a part of the offense and getting touches, 34, 31, and 34 minutes. His usage rate has been up as well in the 20s, 2 out of the last 3. And then look at the shots. 14, 13, and 12, pretty much averaging 12 to 13 shots per game over the last 3 games. And he is definitely rebounding and doing all the dirty work, 12, 15, and 6. And he's got a couple of steals and a block or so in the last few games. Again, he's in a good matchup. Cody Zeller has been playing pretty well for Charlotte up front. But I think Tristan Thompson has an excellent opportunity here, and he also plays fairly well at home. He plays better at home than he does on the road. His numbers have shown that even over the years and even over the playoffs last year. So I like him here. I think at 6,100, his price is up, and obviously 3-game slate, they're going to jack up the price a little bit. We all know that, but what we want to know is, can he get us 30? And that's basically what you need to know, and basically the only thing you need to worry about, and he can. I think he could definitely do that. So I like the opportunity for him. Charlotte's coming in 17th in defending centers. They're 19th in fantasy points allowed to centers. They're giving up 36.9 fantasy points per game. They have given up quite a bit of fantasy points. So there is room there for Tristan Thompson to do well. They gave up 66 to Drummond. Granted, he's not Drummond. They played Joel Embiid twice. Embiid has put up 78 and 49 on them. And in the last 2 games, it was Drummond and Embiid with the 66 and 78. They also have given up 35 to Steven Adams and 34 to Mr. Whiteside. So, again, I think he can do right here. The goal is to get to 30, 35 to me value. I think he can do that. And he is capable of getting you close to 40 here once again. So I like Tristan Thompson here today. And, of course, those are the top 5 plays. You still got 5,600 you could play around with here, ladies and gentlemen. And, when it comes over here, if you're not on Trae Young, I kind of like Quinn Cook. All right, in that same matchup, because I can see where Golden State may take a big lead, and still Quinn Cook will probably still be on the court as opposed to Draymond Green, who's just came back from an injury, or maybe even saving some minutes and some rest for KD. I can see that happening. On the Cleveland side of the ball here on the lower tier, you got to always have that philosophy and that mindset of, hey, maybe it becomes too big of a blowout. Whom can I use off the bench, or whom, so you got guys like Tony Parker. Definitely, if Charlotte is pulling away, I can see Tony Parker getting some more minutes here. You could squeeze in a Tony Parker. He has been playing fairly well here. Jeremy Lin as well is not a bad possible play here. As well, if the game gets out of hand and Atlanta's falling behind, maybe Jeremy Lin will get some of that garbage time. And then over here, shooting guard, I like Clarkson here in the same situation for Cleveland. He's starting, he's playing minutes. Jeremy Lamb is not a bad play here. He's been playing well over the last 2 games. And I also like Mr. Malik Monk here at 4,300, and Monty Morris as well for Denver. These guys are fairly good at that 4K range. At small forward, there's going to be exposure for me on Rodney Hood and Mr. Bunbury. I definitely see that, and maybe Mr. McKinney. At power forward, same situation. I'm looking at Lyles, maybe Mr. Clark, Mr. Spellman. These are guys that definitely you guys have to have some exposure to, especially in a blowout situation. And then at center, I don't see anybody else other than maybe Alex Lynn or Cody Zeller. If you want to save some money, maybe Cody Zeller in that same matchup against Tristan Thompson, maybe not a bad play at all. It'll be $1,500 cheaper, so I'll probably have a little exposure to the Cody Zeller situation as well. If this is the one game that it's Charlotte is favored by 7, that if Cleveland plays well enough at home, they could keep it pretty interesting. I think the one that's a little bit more dangerous is the Atlanta-Golden State game at Golden State. But the Houston-Denver game should be a very good, competitive, close game. You should definitely have a lot of exposure to that. Ladies and gentlemen, there goes your 5. I'll give you 5 plays there. There's and, of course, the other few players that I threw in there within all the positions that you may want to, pivot to. Other than that, we'll see what happens during the course of the day. Again, in the description, a link of the video here, we have the Slack chat link there, so that this way you can get the invite. You can go in there, you're invited, just download the Slack if you don't have it. It's just a great place for us to interact, talk about the game, shoot the shit, so to speak. And at the end of the day, obviously 6:30 or so, more or less an hour before lock, we kind of like talking there a little bit, and it helps those who are new to DFS. So if you're new to DFS and you want to be able to interact with other people and you're still trying to learn, that is not a bad place to be. There's a couple of us there that are fairly new, and there's a couple of us there that are more experienced, like myself, and of course a few others. So drop a like on the video, subscribe down below if you're new to the channel. Again, share the video with others. Let people know about the DFS community. It's more so that I've done this channel basically really to share my experiences and be able to share how I go about doing lineups and helping those that are new to DFS. So if you're new and you're looking for a place to be able to get some honest stuff, again, nothing's guaranteed. I don't have no magic pill. Nobody on YouTube has it. I know the hard work that goes into what I do. I do this all on my own, and it's a number of other people that are doing it on YouTube pretty much on their own or with a few other people. Nonetheless, it's still a lot of work. And of course, we do that just to try to help out you guys out there that don't really have the time for it. This is really just a place for you to come and get some information. More so if you don't have the time to do it yourself, because it does take a little bit of time if you really are looking to get serious about this thing. You really got to grind it out, so to speak. So it's quite a bit of stuff that you got to look at. It's not that easy. And again, remember, these are human beings. These are athletes. Anything can happen. They can have an off night. They can injure themselves. Last night Levert got hurt. It's the way it is. You never know. Sometimes you have guys that perfect matchup, it just doesn't pan out, and then of course you just got to go at it again. Last night I didn't score 300. I haven't scored 300 in 2 nights in a row, so I'm ready to just tune it up, really look over this 3-game slate very closely over the next hour or two, and hopefully by later on tonight I'm either going to tell you guys that I'm still on these same 5 guys, or I might have changed my tune a little bit and decided to go with a few other individuals. But I need to get, I want to get back into that 300, because I tell you all the time, the 300 club is where you want to be at. If you score 300 or better in DFS, in NBA DFS, you have a shot to always cash, either if it's a cash game or if you're playing GPPs like I do. That's what your goal is. If you get into 280s, 285, there's a good chance you'll probably cash as well. But the number you really are targeting is 300. So if you get every player to get you 30 to 35, possibly 40 fantasy points, you're going to definitely hit that number very easily. And that is the key. So again, I'll leave you guys with that, man. Good luck tonight, and I'll see you guys on the next video.